Tony Dungy makes some comments about Michael Sam this week. Let's get into it. Oh boy, so we got a bit of a little hellstorm, a little firestorm going on in the NFL. Tony Dungy, acclaimed head coach, former head coach of the Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Indianapolis Colts, won a Super Bowl with old P. Manning about a decade ago. Had some comments. He's now a broadcaster for the NBC Sunday night game, and had some comments about Michael Sam this week, coming on the Tampa Tribune. I think it's Ira Kaufman was the writer, and pretty much said, I'll read it here word for word so I have it right, have his words right. So he said, let's see, the former coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Indianapolis Colts found himself drawing criticism for telling the Tampa Bay Tribune that if he were still coaching today, he wouldn't have drafted Sam. Quote, "Not because I don't believe Michael Sam should have a chance to play, but I wouldn't want to deal with all of it. It's not going to be totally smooth. Things will happen." End quote. Now, I mean, I don't even know what the brouhaha is to some extent. I mean, we know for those that know in this case here, Dungy in this case is a very devout Christian man. He has his comments, his thoughts about gay marriage and so forth. So from this standpoint, it's not that surprising. However, I mean, he did not say in this case that he doesn't see Sam should play. He came back and clarified his statement. He's saying that he doesn't think Sam shouldn't be able to play. He says he hopes that he does well. He mentions, in this case, he would coach him. So he does a bit of a backtrack on it a little bit, not too much, but he does a little bit of backtrack. But I mean, I think the outrage and look, folks, people are gonna have their opinions. He told his honest opinion. The sad part about it is, or the fact is, that the honest opinion he made was actually verified by 31 other teams in the NFL that passed on him for 7 rounds. Now, to this point, and I heard this point actually on the Le Batard show a couple of days ago for John Amici, who was a former NBA player who, announced that he was gay afterwards. Made this is an interesting point, and of course he was, he wasn't too pleased with Dungy's comments and had some terse words towards Mr. Dungy. But one of the points that came out of the discussion was, which is a very fair point, I've never seen any Defensive Player of the Year that was for the SEC probably get drafted as low as Sam. So, is there more to it? Then hey, he's just maybe he might have the best athlete. What I would love to see, which would have been very interesting to see, is if the combine performance that Sam had, which was very poor, if he had a good to very good performance, what would have been said then? Where would he have been placed in the draft? To me, that would have been very interesting, because right now I think what's happening is anyone in this case that's a visible minority, a woman, any sort of person in that demographic can understand where I'm coming from at this point. You can't give, in this case, others, in this case the establishment, any reason, to either push you aside or decline to give you an opportunity, whatever it may be. Don't give any excuse. So there, in this case here, by him having a poor combine, I feel in this case everyone used that as a crutch. It's like, well, hey, look at the combine, look at his numbers. He's not that fast. Look, he's not that strong. Where I'm sure that they've given plenty of dudes passes that had poor combines before. So what, we've seen dude play. Manti Te'o wasn't really ripping it up, if I recall, too, in combines either. Now he got drafted. I think he was Defensive Player of the Year too. I think as well too when he came out. And he got drafted in the 4th round or something like that. Playing well for San Diego. But same thing. A lot of things were said about him is like, this dude is getting a little overhyped because he plays for the Irish and all the hype around, the mystery woman, and he was a bit of a celebrity because he played for the Irish and they were on a top team. And everyone said it was the system, but Manti Te'o came out all right in this case. He still got drafted in the middle of the draft. And that was Notre Dame. This wasn't even the SEC. So you can imagine if he was a guy that came out from the SEC. I would just love to see that scenario play out to find out, really if guys are just kind of, blowing smoke, or they're really kind of stating what they feel in this case, as far as teams or organizations, if they really felt he was a 7th round pick, or really if there's more to it. But back to Dungy's point. the distraction thing, obviously people will come back at him and say, hey, you supported Vic, you're pushing for Vic to get on team. Hey, you pretty much negotiated Vic to Philadelphia. I think that's a very fair point. I mean, and you can't come back and say it's the media. The media is going to be causing a distraction, because when Vic leading up to Vic, I mean, those animal rights folks were not playing. They were in front of Philadelphia Stadium from the time August came, and they didn't stop from there to about the opening kickoff to about maybe week 4 or 5 when it started dying out. But I think what is subtly implied in his comments in this case, with using the media distraction, my insight is, or at least what I take of it, is what he's really, I think, getting at is the locker room. And folks don't want to hear it, but it's the NFL, folks. Like, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, it's the NFL. Testosterone is running wild, okay? I mean, we're in a league in this case here where I don't think, as far as the dog fighting goes, and I know it might get a lot of dog lovers upset, just call a spade a spade. In the locker room of the NFL team, no one cares. No one cares if the dogs were fighting. So from that standpoint, in the locker room, if Vic can still throw a ball 70 yards down the field and run like 4-4, no one cared about the dogs. Sorry to say it, I got no issues with the dogs. I got love for Lassie and everybody else. I'm no dog lover, but I don't want to see any dog get hurt either. But just telling you the way it is. Even though I do find it strange in this case that there's more uprising about Vic and the dogs in this case here, and Ray Rice just beat his girl to a pulp and dragged her in an elevator just a few months ago, and has got 2 games of the suspension only. But hey, and I'm sure I'm going to see no one outside Baltimore Stadium in this case making a big deal about that. Something to think about. Josh Gordon gets suspended for drugs, for whatever he's doing, weed or whatever else he's doing, for a year. But a guy could beat his girlfriend to a pulp and get 2 games. Pretty much in this case is like as much as he would get if he cursed out Goodell for a day. But that's a subject for another day possibly. But right now with Dungy's comments, I think that really is where this thing, where it really comes together in this case. I think it's the locker room, and I think overall, I think it's going to have a little bit of a bump in this case for a few months, through camps, maybe a couple games in the season. By about week 4 or 5, when some big injury comes, everyone's done forgetting about Michael Sam, and that's even if he makes the team, which we don't know yet. And that's going to be a whole new firestorm if, in this case, the Rams, cut him. Because what's going to happen. You have those folks on Twitter in this case, and all the gay right activists going crazy. Oh, they cut him for this and that and the next thing. It happens in this case with different groups. I know that. It happens with black folks as well too. I get it. In this case, if someone gets cut or something like that, or something happens, there's a natural reaction that happens, and it's going to happen in this scenario if he gets cut. For his sake, I hope he's working hard and focused on what he needs to do. I'm glad he killed that Oprah Winfrey idea, because that was a horrible idea. I don't know who told him about that. But anyways, glad he killed that, and we'll see what happens, man. I think this story was just much ado about nothing in the big picture. I think when it's all said and done, this was a lazy July afternoon. Basketball news is a little dried up at the moment. We're all waiting to see if Kevin Love's get traded. And World Cup's done. And pretty much no one besides, the teams that are leading the divisions in baseball care about baseball at this point. So everyone's just waiting around for football, and folks got antsy, and it was good fodder for a day or two. And this will blow over eventually by next Monday, I think, and we'll be looking at something else at that point. Anyway, those are my comments. Tell me what you think down below in the comments there. And you can find me on Facebook as well too. Hit me on Twitter at Beyond Locker Room. That's Locker Room short for RM. And check me out there. And also you subscribe right above to the video and subscribe to hear what I have to say coming up in the following weeks. Anyways, guys, it's been great talking to you once again. Take care. Be safe. Peace.